So now, what advice would you give someone that wants to start setting up? They've been in the hobby for a while. They want to start setting up a table at a show. What advice would you give them?
Well, it's the same as everything else, man. Just do it. And not everybody is a vendor. I'll be honest with you, man. Like when I run shows and with the Newport show and things like that. I don't hold it against anybody that doesn't want to set up at my show, because me personally, I know how it is. I'm more of a walker than I am a vendor, but I still vendor due to the fact that there are better deals when you're a vendor, right?
Mhm.
That's just the nature of it. Folks come to you. But the thing is, with folks that have never vendored or have never even tried, just try. Try it a few shows. Worst case, bring the family out. It's always a good time,
Yeah.
right? So regardless of the customer base, regardless of who it is, being able to try and being able to just put your cards out there and lay them out. And I think one of the biggest advice I can give you is have a showcase with a small little lock, because there's guys out there, you just don't know, man. I mean, I see guys that have the tables and just lay out the cards, and again, man, we're dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of cards, but to somebody, a $20 card means everything to them. and
That's
and
right. That's
and
right.
I've always stressed that enough, especially with the young guys, man. Go to Hobby Lobby, get those little shadow box cases, and then of course when you start making some bread, then invest up to some nice showcases that the bigger juggernauts use, like Flipstar. So
That's
uh,
right.
you know,
Flipstar
being,
is always set up.
yeah,
Yeah.
Flipstar, man. That guy, he a crazy fellow, man. This man,
I like
you
his
know,
style, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. And that's another thing too. A great example is Pat. And have a niche. Have a niche. My niche is Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan, 90s and 2000s, because that's what I know.
Hmm.
Right. I was in Dallas, and I don't know if the guy's tuning in. I don't think he's gonna tune in, man. But I had a little back and forth with a guy who was very ultra modern heavy. You could tell he's a new guy in the industry with some money, and he had a pretty crazy LaMelo Ball out of 10 mosaic. And man, I love LaMelo. You look, I'm from SoCal, so I seen LaMelo actually in ninth grade when they played against Bishop Gorman,
Oh, and
and the
Chino.
guy
Yeah.
was about like 5'5", and he was
Yeah, he was
balling.
real
He was
short back then.
balling.
Yeah.
And that's when Lonzo and LiAngelo were on the team, and even Big O were on the team. And in my opinion, that's the best high school team of all time. I don't care. That's the best high school of all time. That Chino Hills team, they went undefeated. But 5'5" LaMelo Ball, and I love LaMelo Ball, and but again, I'm a Kobe guy, so I had some LeBrons, I had some Kobe's, and the guy was basically telling me that LaMelo was liquid, and I was like, well, so LeBron's not liquid. So he was getting a
Yeah.
little offended. And again, that's one of the bigger things that I like to advise people is, be character first. Understand that not everybody's going to have the same mindset or respect towards a certain value of something as you. That's another thing, man, is just respect, dude, and being able to be a little bit more humble than usual when it comes time to these cards, because again, these are cards, but they're also financial commodities, and they're also worth something to some people. These are cards that folks have spent their hard-earned money on, and I think being able to, when a deal doesn't get done, it doesn't get done, right? Curator always says this, man. Shouts out Daniel. Gentleman's deal. I think I'm butchering that. Sorry, Daniel, but it's a gentleman's deal, and gentle and a women's deal, right? For all the
That's
ladies out there.
that's right.
But yeah, just having the respect, and then on the last play is definitely understand the value of being liquid, and understand the value of having cash on hand or PayPal on hand or whatever else you use, and
Hmm.
and being able to opportunity, understanding the value of getting opportunity. Nipsey Hustle, man, when opportunity meets preparation. So be prepared when you're doing these shows. Shouts out Johnny, LA Proper. It was definitely a smaller show than I anticipated, but it was definitely a great show for us, because it was definitely a show out in Hollywood, I believe. I
Yeah.
think it was in
Hollywood.
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 But it's a great show on a sense that there's folks that were dealing, and there was a lot of folks that I didn't ever see set up, that finally set up, and it was cool for them to see and them to experience the value of transaction and the value of networking, and these are basic business skills
Basic
that
skills.
not a
Basic
lot of
skills.
people understand, guys.
They
Like
do not.
not everything is transactional. You know, I'm
Mm-mm.
not saying that you should take an L on a deal, but you know, there's a value in networking. There's
Yes.
real true value in networking. I see guys that literally leave out deals for like $100, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't
dude,
understand. Yeah,
that
I see that too.
that
Mhm.
$100, and I've seen that time and time again, especially in Southern California. And I'm not gonna get into the conspiracies on who influenced
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But dude, this is universal, and I'm on my third industry as a young 30-year-old, and man, I see that time and time again where the value of networking and relationships is everything in this game. I remember, it's funny, FD. I'm gonna put Pat
What's
on the
up?
blast here. I
Okay.
remember the first video and the first time I ever met you was Dion's show in the Bay Area, and I remember you guys had a card, and you and Pat were like dueling over $5,
Mhm.
and I'm like, what in the world is wrong with you, Pat?
425. 430. I take it right now, bro.
I asked you at 450.
445.
445?
445. All right.
Like, I was just like, look, I don't know who this FD
Well,
guy is.
Pat, and that day I was looking for a card that our 100 subscriber contest winner wanted.
Sure.
And when I met Pat, he was strong on his price, which I respect, right?
I respect that too,
I
man.
respect
But look,
it. But I wanted the person that won the 100 to know I'm gonna try to get you some kind of value. So that's when we started talking about like $5, $6.
right. But it's so funny because after the show, or after you posted the show, I watched the show and I was like, Pat, you look like a cheap son of a gun, dude. Like that just doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And of course, I'm not trying to tell folks like, "Hey, man, dude, lose the deal." I'm just trying to say, like, "Yo, this guy has a YouTube channel, and at the time, dude, I think you only had 100 subscribers."
Yeah, I only had 100 subscribers.
And
Yeah, but just past 100.
it's so funny, man, because most of these guys, man, this is their first business, right? This is their first business, so
Mhm.
they got a dub, they got a dub, they got a
Yep.
dub. But sometimes when you cut the margins and just lock out a deal, those deals times 5. I have a perfect example. A year ago, actually, it was my first. I'm sorry, it was my first. It was a Vegas show. Shouts out Dakota, who's actually my neighbor here in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And Dakota, who runs a great show in Vegas, I met a guy named Jason, Sports Card Machine, and this guy was this quirky guy that was just like, "Hey, how much is this? Hey, this. How much for all?" And I'm just like, "Who is this guy?" Like, so I grabbed the stuff for him, and I'm like, of course, there's an old term that's out there for you young guys, dealer to dealer deal, right? So of course, what does that mean? That means you're gonna have to leave some meat on the bone for the guys, right? Whether that's 85, 80%. And of course, these were cards that I realized, instead of selling them one by one, it's better to just sell them as it is and take a couple $100 off the price tag. And I think our first deal was about $3,000 for about 5 cards. And now, had I sold all those cards, I would have probably made an extra $500. But that's $3,000 extra for me as liquid to keep going.
That's right.
Take profits, keep going. Roth Cards always says this: it's just take profits, keep going. Take profits, keep going. Whether it's a loss, take that loss that you get that money and reinvest, right?
Yeah.
And I took that. I didn't take that as a loss. I won. I think I made about a good 20% of that 3,000. But it became a relationship. It became a relationship that I had
That's the
with
key, I
Jason.
think. I think that's the key that people miss.
Yes, and a lot of guys miss in this industry, and it's mostly the younger guys, right? But there's some guys that are a little bit on the older side too that I see, and they're the ones that are complaining. Oh man, the show was a tough show for me,
True.
this and that. I'm like looking at
Speak
the
on that.
price.
'Cause I hear this all the time. Somebody will say, "Well, I didn't sell a lot, or this didn't happen." And I know when I go by their table, what I see sometimes, somebody else
Oh
may
yeah.
see that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I'm, I'm one to say this too. I'm a little bullish of things, and of course my price is maybe a little bit over the comp. But dude, if you come up to me and you're like, hey brother, if it's $1,000 price sticker and be like, hey, look, the last comp is 900, well, you do 850. More than likely, I'll probably do the 850.
Yep.
Just because you got to be fair in this game, right? And it's a transactional approach. But going back to what I was saying, that relationship I had with Jason has become one of the strongest relationships that I have in the industry. Being able to move cards to him, being able to take the profits, keep going, and for him, give him enough profit margin so that he could run his business. And until this day, man, Jason, if you're watching this, man, he's one of my favorite guys. I always love doing deals with him. I know what cards to get for him now. I'm a big dual auto guy. Shouts out What's the Play? That's my current play. I love quad autos, triple autos, dual autos. I love all types of that. He was looking for a nice Magic Kareem dual combo, and I think his play was that the new Showtime series.
Yeah,
on
Winning
HBO.
Time, right?
Yeah. Or Winning Time, right? So that was his play, and dude, I had very, very, very high margins on that card, and I bought 2 of those cards at around $3,000-4,000 and moved it to him for profit. And yeah, man, I mean, things like that, relationships, those are big. Those are huge, man, in this industry. I'd like to say strength in numbers, like the Warriors say, being able to do so many transactions and to a point where your brand is so ironclad that regardless of what it is, and of course, Dynasty mode's not perfect. I've had deals where I had to reverse them because I was a little bit too over the value, and there was a comp that showed up. So of course, I gladly reversed the deal. And that's another thing, man. Be honest. Be honest with your stuff. And again, if you're high on things, just say it. Hey, man, I'm a little high on that. I can't do it at that value. And if the guy has a little attitude about it, that's on his heart. And I think that's the beauty of it. Don't lie, man. Don't be, guys like that. And again, the hobby is so strong that word gets out there quick. Word gets out there quick. I'm not gonna, name any names, man, but I had some guys that, I love them personally, but I had some guys that we had to ban because their names weren't the best at the industry and in the hobby locally in Southern California. So we can't have them vendoring at our shows. And if you're banned at Newport Showcase, you are not vendoring at the Burbank Card Show. I'll tell you that. So being able to just be honest, man, and do good business. Do good business. One of my best homies, man, who's one of the more successful guys in my life. He always said this: be good and be good, and good will be good and good will be you. And I remember, damn, that just struck to me, and I was just like, you know what, man, like, just be good. Don't be, you don't got to necessarily be great. You don't got to be excellent. You got to be anything. Just be good. My first Newport show, I've always just said this, man, let's just have a good show. There's going to be problems. There's going to be, FD, when you have a show or an episode, I'm sure you're telling G, hey, let's just get as much content as possible. It don't got to be the most perfect content, but let's just have good content. And that's what you do, bro. So, but yeah, man, the relationship value is everything, and just do good business. That's probably one of the biggest things that
it's very important. I just think that people think sometimes short term and now how long term things are. Even myself, I'm walking around like we set up at one show briefly, but I'm pretty much in front of a lot of people talking to a lot of people. And there are some vendors that you can talk to at the last show, and the next time you see them, you already know how organized they're going to be, how they're going to be set up. I give a shout out to Ashley. I think Ashley was by you at the.
Oh yeah, my guy Ash Dream.
I give Ashley a shout out every time. Every time I see him, man, he is organized.
Yes, sir.
And he's always checking his comps. He's on his game. If you have a conversation with him, there you go.
My dog. That's my guy.
If you have a conversation with him about something, he's knowledgeable of his cards, and he can talk to you about that. And that just speaks volumes. So the next time I come back to the show, the third time, the fourth time, when I get to his table, I know who I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it just makes it so much easier. We talk comps real quick. As a buyer, I could leave him something on a card and take just a little bit off. I'm happy with that because I know who I'm dealing with.
Exactly.
That's really what it's all about.
Exactly. And the beauty about Ash, man, he's such a good dude, a good soul. beyond just the hobby.
Right.
Man, Ash does value cards, guys. Ash does value boxes, and I'm sure
Mhm.
he does a great number standpoint. And that's how I started. There's a lot of guys that see my cards and see my showcase, and they see, a couple zeros that they probably, they see a Honda Civic in the showcase,
That's
and
right.
and they're a little bit price struck. But I always tell guys, man, I started in dollar boxes too, man. And I'm not, not a knock to all the homies that have, the rich parents out there and stuff, man. I didn't have that, so
Mhm.
I had to start from the bottom. And I remember as when I first started in the hobby, man, one of the first guys I actually met was Mark. Ultimate Pastimes was one of my big
Oh,
homies.
yeah. Yeah.
He's a big mentor of
I
mine.
met him years ago. We talk about this
Yeah,
years ago at autograph shows.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's an OG. I mean, what Mark does, Ultimate Pastimes, what he does is and in my opinion, he's the bridge. He's the bridge with all the OGs in the game, and he's also, the young guys like myself, and he's that guy. And man, when I first met Mark, my budget was like $100, FD.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like, I was very penny pinching and very, very strategic with what I picked up and things like that, to a point where now, like, buying a LeBron auto is really nothing to me at this point, because I understand that the seasoning is there. And I had to check myself, man. I think I put it out there on Instagram. I was like, man, I almost closed the BGS 9 Flair Jordan
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I read that.
true. And I remember I was a little down on it, man, just because, I was very cash heavy, and the seller was just a little bit too off. And it was just a perfect Flair Jordan, in my opinion, that would possibly cross into a PSA 9. But, he's a little bit too heavy on it, and that's okay. But then I had to remind myself, man, like just less than a month ago, I picked up my first heavy PSA 8 Flair Jordan. And I started with $100 2 years ago.
There
And
you
I
go.
had to check myself, and I was just like, you know what? Let me ride this humbleness. Let me ride this humbleness. And I was on the flight. FD, I was on the flight. I was on business class, man. I mean, they sold out on Dynasty mode with the first class ticket.
Yeah.
I like to treat myself after a good show. And I like to try to fly out first class back home.
As you
But
should.
I'm a little older.
Yeah,
The
man.
back's not doing
I know
too
what you
well
mean.
compared to
Yeah.
what it was.
Mhm.
But dude, I had to check myself and be like, dude, back then I used to fly standby. And again, I didn't have the means of having my mom and dad, give me money to buy cards. So I had to start with a penny, and being able to reach the success that Dynasty Mode has reached, man, it's been nothing short of incredible. So I had to humble myself a little bit on the flight, and I
Well, at
knew,
least you think like that. At least you have that
yeah,
thought in your mind to to catch it and be like, you know what? Let me treasure where I've come from. I tell my family here all the time. I started out going to like corner stores or a 7-Eleven or a retail store as a kid buying cars. That's the only place I could really buy a car. There
yeah,
were very few hobby shops when I was really young. We're talking about 8, 9, 10 years old to go in and buy cars.
hmm
So, and I used to dream of having certain cars. Even when LeBron first came out, and the cars now they're like $1 million. When they were in the thousands, I used to think, man, it'd be great to have a car like that. So now, if I do purchase a car that I think is significant, or it has a good trend on it, or I feel like that car is going somewhere, I do the same thing, man. I sit down and think about the times where I wouldn't have ever been able to afford that car, or I wouldn't have been able to talk or speak through that process
man,
of even getting that car.
man. It's crazy how you mentioned that, man, because as a kid, I used to look at Beckett magazines,
All the
bro.
time, bro. All the time.
Man, I remember, for all y'all that were watching, man, like I remember I used to, when you first go through the first few pages of the advertising, right? Of the different advertising, you would always see like the top cards of the month, right?
That's right.
And
Yep.
always on that Beckett 0304 was a LeBron card or a Kobe card. And that card was a jambalaya.
That's
And I
right.
remember as a kid, I was like, man, I don't know what the hell that is,
But it
but
looks
yo,
good, right?
I want that card.
That's right.
Like I knew. I was like, and at the time, bro, it was like $1,000, and of course, $1,000 in 2003 was a lot of money,
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't have that. Yeah.
especially for an 11-year-old.
That's right, bro.
And I think at the time the jambalayas was like maybe like $200-300, or I don't know what it was, man. This is a long time ago.
It was
But I remember
unattainable. Yeah, I used to
even
look
the
at stuff
flare.
that was just
I don't know.
unattainable.
Remember FD, the exquisite box was like $500, and people were
That's
losing
right.
their shits.
And people were
You know,
losing their minds. Like how they
out,
charging that much?
yeah, shouts out Carvin, man. You know, the founder of Exquisite, the father of Exquisite. You know, so but man, and I remember as a kid being like, man, one day I'm gonna get these cars. And of course, I'm a Kobe guy, and man, I had to humble myself in Atlanta. Atlanta was a great show for us, and I was able to obtain the Kobe Jambalaya.
That's a nice car. I
And
saw that picture of that. Nice car.
and like, dude, it's humbling, man, to have a bunch of cards on my desk, and you know, I'm just comping cards, and just that humbling inclination of just, you know, you got to take a step back and enjoy the ride. You know, you got to take a step back and enjoy the ride. Since that show, that last Dallas show in January, I've acquired over 7 Flair Jordans, you know, and being able to say that by March has been nothing short of incredible for our brand and for me. And man, it's been a ride, man. It's been a ride. I told my wife this, like, you know, and on a personal note, guys, like, I touch my, you know, I'm a college dropout. I started my first business with $10, and I grew that into a pretty sizable business, and I touched 6 figures at 22 years old, and I thought I was on the ride to become a millionaire. And then nearly at 24, I was $120,000 in debt, and I was damn near homeless. You know, sleeping in my car, and I was taking showers at Crunch Fitness in Long Beach. I had a nice office, and my car was a Mercedes. But I had an E-Class Mercedes with FD. I was sleeping in a Mercedes, man, and I didn't have I didn't have the guts to tell my mom and my pops, just because, you know, my mom wanted me to go to college, and I just knew college wasn't for me. And shouts out to another Chicago guy, Kanye West, that made me drop out of school. My favorite album of all time.
College dropout. Yeah.
So that, you know, on my personal page, for you guys that do not follow me on my personal page, I always got college dropout on the bio, you know, just to let people know where I come from, man. And the hustle has been real for me. You know, you're talking about 100-hour days, you know, that I've put into this, and being able to look back and say I've started 3 businesses out of nothing has been nothing short of incredible. So the humbleness is there, and that's why the networking for me, and being able to not be necessarily a penny pincher, it's just because it's in me that it's like, hey, look, the more transactions I do, the more relationships I build, and the more relationships I build, the more I could get done, and more opportunities come with that. And of course, with opportunities come the card shows, and man, the opportunities has been real, from Newport to ultimately the Burbank Card Show, which has been a humbling experience, man. Very, very humbling.